Would you or would you not
Fuck a ghost.
get oral sex from a ghost?
Mother heckin' heck, yeah. Fuck yeah, heck. Welcome to the podcast. This is Not For Radio. We are your host, Duncan. Hi, Jay Reeve. Interesting one today. If you're watching this, the background will change because it's been on different days when we've been recording. But this bloke got in touch with me on Instagram, and I was like, you know what? I'm curious. I don't have the answers. I'm curious. Let's 100% get you on. He's basically a ghost hunter. Has some outrageous yarns.
Yep. Everything about how animals can pick up ghosts sometimes before humans. We hopefully asked the questions that you would have in your head.
Yeah.
That was the attempt.
Because he's
anyway.
been doing it for ages, got all the gear that you see on the TV shows and stuff, and we talk about it in the podcast too, but for the most part, he's got stuff that has happened that he can't explain. Therefore, you give it a name, and then you go, well, maybe it is, a spirit, or maybe it is a ghost, or maybe it is an entity. I don't know. I'm just fascinated by my family. Well, maybe we'll share next week. My family have had all sorts of weird shit like this happen to them. Again, you can't explain it, so.
Yeah, this is David.
You turn into a fucking podcast, what you do, dog.
David from the UK. Great man. Turned up resplendent in a Waz jersey, which was massively impressive. The 25th anniversary jersey too, might I add.
Yeah, the good one.
Yeah, it covers off talking to ghosts, what table tipping is, the strengths that ghosts have, what it's like to be strangled by a ghost. Dunc tells us what it's like to make love to a ghost, the equipment used.
Technically, the ghost made love to me.
Yeah, and getting into the paranormal.
Now, if you're not already, the best way to support us and to continue making this crook content is by becoming Sniper Elite, which you get your content ad-free, you get 2 extra episodes a week, and you unlock about 250 other episodes. So if you fang through everything else, there's just so many outrageous yarns, so much sick content and interviews and everything that we've done so far. You can get that on your mobile phone. All you need to do is click on the link that is in the episode description. That'll fire you through. It'll make you sign up through our Rover app. That's legit. That's the back end of everything we do for the company we work for called MediaWorks. And it's less than $1 a month. So
Yeah. Pretty big announcement coming on Monday as well, which
biggest prize ever.
Easily, yes.
Technically, there's 2, almost 4 of them, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, you'll find out.
Yeah, if you like listening to this, you'd prefer to see us face-to-face telling the same yarns is probably a great way of alluding to it.
On that note, enjoy the podcast.
Have you had an accident at work that wasn't your fault? Call Jay and Dunc on Not For Radio.
All right, buckle up for this one. Our next guest isn't here to sell you crystals or read your friggin' aura. They hunt ghosts for real. Since 2018, they've been deep in the UK's most haunted spots. EVP recorder in one hand, probably clenching a crucifix or something in the other hand. I don't know, I haven't done it. They work with ghost hunt events, a paranormal team that uses everything from spirit boxes to full spectrum cameras, and they've seen some pretty friggin' wild stuff. Please welcome Dave O. Welcome to the podcast.
We give you a round of applause, but we almost throw in there a bit of a woo.
I'm all for this.
I'm doing the hands as well, didn't I, Jesse? Yeah. Hello.
Mate, this is right. We're doing really, really well. Thanks for jumping on. Like I said, looking resplendent in your Waz jersey. That is amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's because as I said, I'm a fan of the show, as we touched on earlier, and you guys as Not For Radio and the actual station that you do with your shows that you do, really impressed, and you've got the Sniper Elite on the Facebook. I'm a member of that as well. Certainly the Facebook group and the stories there and everything. It's a brilliant community. So I appreciate what you guys and all the team do. So.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say. You obviously operate in some very, very fringe spectrums of life. Not only are you part of the Sniper's Nightmare Facebook group, but you are also part of this ghost hunting thing. That is right up our alley. Like, how did you get into it? Are you the sort of kid that could see people standing at the end of your bed? Are you more science-based, or are you a bit more woo-woo based?
I was going to say, I'd like to go down, as it were, almost like the science base, but it got me. I got hooked very early on. Of all things, my teachers used to say, "Look, you're a bit of a You need to kind of get yourself sorted and go and read. You're good at reading. So I grabbed a Doctor Who book, but actually right next to it, because there's loads of those books, and used to love the TV show Tom Baker and all that. And there was an Osborne's book right next to it, which was like Into the Unknown, and it was all about ghosts, paranormal, all different, like brilliant ghost images, and then UFOs and monsters and cryptids and everything else, and that got me hooked from there. And I did my first ghost hunt 20 years ago, because at the time my wife was 13, and we'd done a nice romantic weekend down in Stratford upon Avon, which I highly recommend, and which is old Shakespeare's town, and it still hasn't changed that much. You can kind of buy a ticket and it will take you around all the different venues. And we just happened to we went to Falstaff's bar, which is a museum, and Falstaff's very big character in Shakespeare's time, and they had loads of old remnants and all museum parts of Shakespeare and everything else. And my wife at the time had a big badge saying 30 years old, and just as we were leaving, the guy said, what you got planned for tonight? And at the end of the day, I was trying to be romantic and say, well, you know, we can go and see David Tennant. He's performing at the time, or he said, oh, that sounds okay. Why didn't you come along to a ghost hunt? And so it's kind of like weighing up. And obviously, being the romantic man I am, we chose the ghost hunt because it was like 2 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning. But he did say that I had to pay, but as it was her birthday, she can come along for free. So yeah, so that's where it started from, as far as my first official ghost hunt. So, but no, I haven't seen anyone at the end of my bed there, Jay. But I have to say that I have had some activity and stuff like that at the paranormal events. And at that event, we did see shadow people. We had people running up the stairs and walking up the stairs, and we knew where everyone was at the time. And there was a motion sensor kept going off. And we know that the motion sensor had no batteries in it and everything, and it kept going off and saying the different phrases at that museum. So we had, for a first night, we had some really good paranormal activity for that. So,
because a lot of people are going to say, I'm calling bullshit. I've never had anything like this happen to me before. And this is something. And the reason why I say it is because it was literally this week. My wife is very susceptible to feeling different spirit-based things around her.
She said entities pin her down in her bed and shit.
Yeah, that was me. But it was driven by them. No, it was like if she can feel hands going up, like walking up her body, like somebody's standing on her chest and walking up her. And I had the same thing where it literally, I felt my hands moving around, like without me controlling them in the bed, like literally moving like up over my body and then off to the side randomly, like not a normal movement pattern that I do.
And you're in a new build as well.
Yeah, but it's on a new build that is on some very heavily contested Māori land in between two very warring factions.
Okay.
So we get a lot. I think we get a lot of activity here in New Zealand. But when you're in the UK, there's a truckload more. What equipment are you using, which is more than just going, well, I felt this and I think I saw this?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is so where I started off with the company, I was a volunteer, and we went to a property called the Red Lion Hotel, which is a real working hotel, worked all the way through COVID and everything. Ideally, with the equipment we were using it can be used, a lot of the stuff now with our phones can be used on the phone. You use the dictaphone, the voice things and everything on there. We're using SLS cameras, which is an adapter from the Xbox console, and different things on there, which they give you like stick figures and stuff like this. And it's the equipment you would see on TV shows, like Ghost Adventures and stuff, and we get to use all of that. And then going back to what you've had, certainly on the on as a ghost and things like that. So a lot of the time when you're looking at the paranormal activity, is it events replaying back in time? So what they call a stone tape theory, or is it actually something to do with the actual land or what's involved in the property? Is something attached to the items in the property and things like that? And it may well be, Jay, that it is actually the land that you've bought there that may have had activity in the past, and violent activity that's generated that on there. And but yeah, I get to certainly, as you know, with England and everything, most of the stuff is really, really old. And that hotel goes back to 1485. And that's where I started off as a volunteer. And there's a couple of famous spirits that are there, and people have passed. And one of them was Catherine Alice Miller. So much so they've actually got like a working model of her in the bar. So you go in the bar, and the bar itself is really famous. It's called the Parliament Bar, because in Colchester, so Colchester, which is now a city, but as the Romans went through there, and very famously the Civil War was taken effect in Colchester itself. It was under siege. A couple of thousand people died, and when it was all over, so the Royalists and the and Oliver Cromwell and his Roundheads all finished up. Thousands were dead, but actually they used the bar there to ultimately talk about what they were going to do with Parliament and to move it forward as it was at that time. And Oliver, as far as he was there at that bar at that time.
So what actually happened? Because that was one of your first like proper paranormal experiences at the Red Lion Hotel. Like, what did you capture, and what were you actually using? What were those tools on that night?
So using a dictaphone, which we were just ideally we were asked questions, and then you wait a little bit and ask to get a reply. And they had a little memory card in them that you would record so much and then take them back to the base room, and they would put it in a laptop. So I was asking questions. So I was doing that for about half an hour to an hour, and we're doing other things with all the equipment. I thought, okay, well, I've done that. I've asked, is anyone there? Can you tell us, are you okay? What's going on? Can you tell us a little bit about your name? And then we took it back to the base room, and I didn't think anything more. You kind of fill yourself with coffee and tea to keep yourself awake till 2 a.m. And as the guy at the laptop was going, blimey, so come over and listen and play it back. And we actually got voice, some really good, what they call it, an A-class EVP, where the actual female voice come through. And I was the only one in that room at that time when I asked that question, and a female voice come back giving us that information. And that's the thing is, I understand where Jay was saying with other people saying, that could be anything, things like this. But I know the full fact that there was no one else in the room. In the connecting rooms, we had that as well, and there was no one in there at the time. And that was a female voice come through clear as day. And on the Ghost Hunt Events YouTube site, apologies for plugging on that, but there is some evidence and stuff on there that has been put on there from what we've had on past investigations. And I believe that one of those is on there as well from what I did as well. So,
and do you remember what she was saying?
She basically answered one of my questions and said yes, and followed up with like the answer to my question as well.
Fucking hell. So back in the day, I've told this yarn before on the podcast, kind of a similar thing. I stayed overnight in an old mental asylum, which is super fucking haunted for the most part, because it's been turned into accommodation, rentals and stuff like that, and there's people that live in them because it's cheap rent or whatever, but you hear all of these kids like laughing outside of your room at night and stuff. And we were in the ballroom, which is where all the local farmers used to go, and they'd have a ball once a month with all the nurses that worked at the mental asylum. And I was recording on my iPhone, and I've done thousands of recordings on my iPhone, and it's never gone wrong. And we were recording while we were doing, I wasn't doing it. I was like, fuck that, a seance and with the old Ouija board. And then we got back to process the audio. We're like, oh, that'll be, fun to play some of that with, them summoning spirits or whatever. And then all the way through it just sounded like this. Wow, 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 for like 40 fucking minutes. And I was like, well, how does that work?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing and that's what you got to kind of look down the avenue of is it the equipment malfunctioning, or is it someone actually affecting it and things? And I've had someone who had a really large battery on one of these cameras, which was doing infrared and everything. And I said, I was doing table tipping, and at the time with the guests, and I said, oh, someone's coming with a camera. Spirit, where you're moving the table, can you affect the camera? And literally the camera was full battery, full power. The whole thing went off. And I was sworn at by my colleague because it was sort of brand new equipment and they haven't used it yet.
Stop getting the ghost to turn our shit off.
That's right, exactly. So I get sworn at like that quite a bit generally. So and my bad joke.
Now, if someone's listening to this, there's always going to be skeptics and whatever. That's fine. I just don't know. I don't believe we know everything, and nor will we ever know no matter how much we look to learn throughout our life. But can you tell the story about you getting strangled by?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I say, it's the Red Line Hotel again, and we'd finished for the night. We were kind of just letting because what we do set events. I do table tipping and spirit boards or Ouija boards with the guests for an hour, and we do 2 other bits with equipment, and then we do seances if they want. So we had basically we had a group of guests with me in room 7 of the Red Line Hotel, which is a 4-poster bed, and there's a story I put in earlier about that. But they were sitting at the end of the bed on the table and chairs, and there was 3 ladies who I go to evening of clairvoyances that they do platforms and read out to guests and give them different stories and whatnot. But these 3 ladies had said, yeah, we've done this before. We believe there's a spirit coming through. And the lady who was sitting down, literally her face changed. She had a guttural noise coming through, and her eyes went, and literally where her face and her hands changed, her hand was coming up to strangle me. And I'm like, okay, that's maybe and her friend said, no, it's fine, she does this before, she's let spirits in. I said, well, not really, while she's trying to strangle me, if that's okay. So I got the other 2 ladies were then right, come back to us and things like this. So this was like that, bless them, they're all kind of like, the nannies and things like this, as ladies of a certain age, put it that way, that you wouldn't expect them to do a grappling move from a wrestling to try and strangle you. And she was, it was a different person coming up to strangle me. And I've got a thick neck, so it would have been obviously taken something. But at the end of the day, it was like not something on a Saturday night that you're down at trying to help guests and stuff with a paranormal activity and stuff like that happening. So yeah.
Do you think that maybe you may be rolling the dice a little bit, because when you open yourself up to this many activities, that there are going to be some eventual hitchhikers that probably hop into the vehicle with you when you're leaving places like that, and then you bring it in. You've got a family, you've got a partner, and how do they feel about you opening yourself up and opening them up by default with what it is you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got a 16-year-old daughter who grew up on Scooby-Doo and said, Dad, I want to come with you. And I said, yeah, that's right, absolutely. And to be honest, none of the ghosts look like Scooby-Doo, which is like a thing. They're always like shadow people and stuff like this. But what I've done is said to them, look, ideally we do it and we close everything and open everything in a certain way, whether it be the tables and the spirit boards and the spirit boards, Ouija boards, we close them down and open them in the same way. It's only when things go awry that people ask silly questions, disrespect spirit. And I always say to my guests about treating spirits and people as guests who have passed away. So they're people in real life. So their personalities are exactly the same as what they were in real life. So if you wind them up, they're going to wind you back up. And yeah, to be honest, my other half knows, or my wife knows, and my kids are aware of it. But yeah, I took my daughter around to 2 of the forts we go to in Harwich. They had open days because they're charity run, most of them, and trusts. And we did have some activity happen during the day as well. We had some noises and some bangs happen during the day, and you get that. And that's the thing, because people are around there, you don't really notice paranormal activity. But we were in Beacon Hill Fort, and there was stuff happening in the tunnels. And I said, well, that's what could happen. And it was, yeah, that's okay, Dad. Let's go back to the car. So, but eventually, that's the thing. Now I've given daughter, my younger daughter, who's very keen in it, reading and books to read on serious subjects and stuff on the internet for her to read before we even went on those forts. I said, look, this is what could happen. You need to be aware of what the rules are. Ideally, what the rules are. Just be respectful and don't do silly stuff. And generally, people get a fantastic night out, and that's what we get. It's ideally as a team, as I said, I've mentioned a little bit in the press and everything as well. We were very lucky that when the Ghost Adventures come over to the UK, they actually used our team, and Stephen, who runs the company, featured quite heavily on the episode as well. So it's we're very lucky with what we do, and it's still a science that, like you guys have touched on. It's a science at the end of the day which is still wide open, and I'm fully into kind of like let's try and work out what it is. If it's someone's air conditioning coming on, I'm absolutely fine with that. At the end of the day, and what's that?
Hey, have you had anybody take the piss and then have some form of retribution, whether they get pushed over, something fly off the wall at them, like your classic sort of stuff like that?
Yeah, and that, again, I apologise for going back to the Red Lion, yeah, again, it was that
You did
room.
a terrible job of promoting them. You've absolutely
Wait.
fucked them.
Can you just fucking always remind me never to book a night's accommodation there? Get finger banged bloody 3 digits deep by bloody 4 ghosts by the time I get to midnight.
I'll take that combo if it's for sale at the Red Lion.
And they were really good. They all went. That hotel carried on during COVID, so that shows how good. We say it's haunted, and we know it's haunted, but people still stay there. But I have big builders who are, 6 foot, 225 kilos and whatnot, come down to us and say, I want to come on this ghost hunt because my taps were going and someone moved in the shadow while I was putting my shirt on. So, and they come down to us and stuff like this. But yeah, so I'm basically going back to room 7, the 4-poster bed, and a boyfriend and girlfriend was doing the table tipping and stuff was happening, and one of the other guests moved away, so it's just the boyfriend and the girlfriend, and basically the boyfriend said, "Oh, that's really good, but can you show us how strong you really are? Show us your power." And with that, and I heard literally a scream because I was in the room next door. I walked in, and the girlfriend had, and no lights, something like out of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where the girl kind of goes up like a marionette, and she was walked round to the bed, pinned down to the bed like that, and her eyes were rolled back, and she was like, literally, she was pinned down to the bed, and I'm not one for swearing, but I was kind of like, what the hell have you done? And the boyfriend was still by the table with his chin on the floor, and I said, well, come and give us a hand then. And literally, when she come to, we said, come back, and for fight it and things like this. And at the end of the day, when she come back and her eyes come back, she said, "Yeah, I could see you, David." But it's kind of like a ghostly thing, and that was not me. I can tell you that now. And I said, yes, I could see, because her eyes had, had changed and stuff like this. But it was, to walk in and see someone walking like a marionette from that Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I've never seen anything that bonkers, absolutely mad. And so that's why I say don't disrespect stuff like this. And we've got stuff that we can assist, where we have people who do have, where I do these evening clairvoyances and sit in the corner suddenly, there's discounted tickets and everything, and the posters here where we go. They come up to me because I've had a few glasses in of wine, and they come up to me and say, "Oh, Dave, yeah, we've had something come in my house. I've had people who are widows and said my other half's come through in the house and still haunts, is still there and stuff like this." So we get stories all the time. So, but that's just one of the examples of what happened with us there.
Have you ever had to pull pin on a ghost hunt?
No. And that's the thing is kind of I've it's something that and I get that chucked to me a lot as far as with my friends and things like this, is like, don't you ever get thing, but it's just ever frightened or what. And yes, there are squeaky bum moments that you go, what the hell's that? But you kind of like, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, that is what it is. Though it may be scary to you, it may be a relative coming through. I get told off for making guests cry because on the table tipping, we get relatives come through. So though we're a fort which has been there since 1810, the Redoubt Fort in Harwich, I get someone's uncle or someone's dad who last 2-3 weeks ago had someone's father apparently come through and answered questions only they would know to that particular person, and bless her, she was in tears. So I'm getting the T-shirt at the Christmas do saying, how many guests I've made cry this year.
Fucking hell. Can you just explain table tipping? Because you've mentioned that a few times.
Yes, so table tipping is a TV table, but with extended legs, so it comes up to about waist height. And we will use, ideally, I'll get guests to stand northeast, southwest, and ideally put 2 fingers on the table, and we'll ask if there's anyone there. And ideally, the table should move for a yes and a no response. But the amount of times it's quite a high percentage that the guests will sometimes get a push and a pull, or be moved sideways and things, and that tends to mean that they're getting the message for them. So ideally, we try and get it. And the table, we've had the table walk up and down the room and slide up and down almost like a hospital kind of walking thing as well. And we've got that again on YouTube. There's evidence of that. And if you look it up at Charlton House online about Charlton House table tipping, we've had the camera set up and saying to the spirits, move this table. And I've made sure that everyone's changed their hands so they're not pushing and not manipulating the table. And it's absolutely fascinating. So the table can either walk up and down the room. So, yeah.
I think so. There'll be so many people just like me that, like, you have got all of this stuff, like, and we'll put the link to where we can see all of these things in the show notes as well. But like, this is a tour that if you are in the UK or if you're traveling to the UK, people can literally come and join you and go on these effectively ghost hunting tours.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do, ideally we keep it down to small groups. So if we have like 30 people, we'll put you into smaller groups and then you'll go off and do table tipping, spirit boards. And if you just want to watch and not do that because kind of the exorcist scared the bloody hell out of you, absolutely fine. And you can just watch it and stuff like this. And that's fine because they're trying to sell tickets and put bums on seats. But ultimately, if you set it correctly with all the equipment and everything you see, what you see on TV, you get to use, and you can use your phones. We say to people, and I've sent you some of the pictures, what guests have taken over the time as well. And ultimately, we get so much information and everything come through. So you get to go and ghost hunt yourselves, but we're here to help. We explain how it all works. We let you do that. And then we go and do the ghost hunt all together.
It's so good. Like, I think people can be quick to write this stuff off, but like, unless you it's hard to write off if you can't explain it, and you've probably seen more than most. And then it's got to the point where it's relatively normal for you and just fucking is what it is. But I've told various yarns on this podcast before that I can't explain. And so I therefore go, well, I can't write it off because I can't explain it. Until you can actually explain it, or you can do you can have some sort of scientific explanation in behind it, or factual explanation that everyone is 100% happy with, you can't write it off.
Yeah, but it's another thing, like grammar. You can't explain what grammar is, yet you speak every single day. Like some shit just happens because it's happening, and it's sometimes it doesn't need the explanation. So it's great to get the evidence of it as well. But the evidence, and that's the weird thing that I kind of can't quite get my head around, is that when you were asking those questions, did you hear anything in the room, or did you hear nothing until they pulled the audio from that card?
Absolutely nothing there, Jay.
See, that's the fucked part. That's the sneaky little bastard ghost part that I don't fucking like.
I have had direct voice phenomenon. I have had that in the cellar, and it was the little lady who was sitting next to me was from East London and 4'5" and nothing of her. And the voice that come out was a man who was in his 30s to 40s back in the old days, shouting at me saying, "Stop and get out." And that was kind of like the most unsettling thing probably I've ever come across. But we had just
so that came out of the little old lady.
Well, no, that was just come out between me and her. There was like a direct voice sound come out, and it sounds way crazier than it actually me. So I'm like, but we had just done a session where the table had moved, and apparently it was the children of this guy who used to run the stables at the hotel, So, and that was the thing. That was, and that's it. That was the bonkers thing there, Jay, as well. It's kind of like, and so it's kind of like so loud. And it was like, hang on a minute, and your brain doesn't compute. And that's the thing, is I've seen shadow figures and stuff like this. I've seen spirits, and your brain doesn't compute how mad that really is. And that's why I'm quite happy with it, because it's kind of like, treat it as a normal thing, because a few weeks later, your brain will go, what the did you just see? And it's, at the end of the day, it's something that I can't explain. There is no way that should have happened. None of the equipment, and like I said about the dictaphones and whatnot as well, that actually I didn't hear anything at the time. I was asking out, pausing, and like I said, with the grammar and stuff, I try and work in radio and everything, but words are hard at the end of the day. So you have lots of different things come out, and that definitely wasn't that lady. That's why whenever I tell that story, look, that wasn't her. She was kind of picking up a handbag. I moved the table to one side, and this voice said, "Get out, go away, like stop, get." And it was like, whoa, okay. Okay, so yeah.
And the funny thing, like going back to the other one that you were recording and you actually didn't physically hear, there's like a spectrum of what the human ear is able to hear. And then for you to be able to hear it on the recording, you should have been able to hear it in the room. But somehow it's magically appeared on the recording, a digital recording, which, like I was saying earlier, doesn't fuck up that easily. And then it's appeared on there like that. It's just like, oh my God, what the
Yes, and we've had a dog on it. We've had pets on the investigation. We go to Glenham Hall in Suffolk, and the lady who looks after us, her and her boyfriend come round, and they had a dog, and the dog was looking at stuff that kind of like, hang on, well, we don't notice anything, but they're clearly looking at stuff, so they can hear and see stuff that we can't.
How many times have you seen a dog stand in the corner of a room and just fucking bark? And you go, that's unsettling. Like, you're like, why are you doing that? Like, yeah, they're seeing some shit that we're not seeing. We're right. Hey, we understand you've set up we could talk all day, but we won't. Like, we want people to go and experience what you guys are up to. You guys have set up a bit of a promo code. You let us know what that is, and then we'll put a link to where you can maybe go on one of these tours and, I don't know.
Where we can check out all the footage.
Jay can get fingered by a ghost and we can check out the footage.
Hey, be honest though, just circle of trust here. Circle of trust. Would you or would you not
Fuck a ghost.
Get oral sex from a ghost? You can't see who it is. You don't know who it is. But if it felt good, you just go with it, surely.
I could just be a bit cold.
As a married man, I'd have to say no there, Jay.
Does it count as cheating though if you can't see them? I'm working in the grey.
Jay's always working in the grey. You don't have to answer that, Davo. Hey, what's the discount code?
So the discount code, so anyone who would like to come along, if you use the code Essex in all capitals and ESSEX in all capitals, and everyone who applies and uses that code will get a discount for coming along to Ghost Hunt events. And that's ghosthunterevents.co.uk.
Ghosthunterevents.co.uk. Mate, that's mega.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jensen, and your time and patience and me telling the yarns. So, and Tegan, bless her as well.
I love the stuff.
So, because I sent them.
She's an absolute carver. She really is.
Yeah, I think she's slightly paranormal as well. She manages to be fucking everywhere all the time and doing the work of about 30 people. So I'm assuming that you might run into her in some form of, she's been here before. She's been here before.
So I haven't been looking at the screen to see Dave, but I've just had a wee peek now in the video, and he took a sip out of a cup with a bunch of ghosts on it. Fucking how good. There it is.
My family bought that for me, so there we go. Yes.
Yeah, that's what you get a bloke in his 50s.
Is that
the ghost for Father's Day?
Is that what you drink your brew out of?
Oh, man. Oh, great chat. Mate, love your work. Appreciate you for coming on. And, we'll point people your way. You can check out all the links in the show notes of this episode. And hopefully some of you get to go with Dave and his team. And then
mad bastards.
And then report back as to how it went. Because there's one thing hearing on a podcast. There's another thing being like, fuck, I've been out to the pub a billion times. Like, mix this Saturday night up and go and see some ghosts. Good on you, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, gents. I appreciate all your time and keep on doing what you're doing. You do fantastic work with your radio show and your podcast, so it's brilliant. And the Facebook page has been an absolute godsend, and the guys are absolute battlers and absolute great people. So it's appreciated.
Mate, you're a legend. Thank you so much.
Hey, no worries. Appreciate it.
Fuck, you're a superstar.
Yeah.
It was fun and like just interesting as fuck. Like clearly, you come across those people that are not 100% into it or are skeptics or whatever. But myself and Jay definitely aren't. Like I say, you can't explain it. You can't explain it, right?
I hope that's okay as well with how I come across there. And gents, you are legends in your radio shows and where Jay says about his MTV days. I used to work for Sony as a franchise many years ago, and I used to have MTV on every screen, which got me through the day. So I appreciate that, and
awesome.
So it's absolutely
Those
brilliant.
are good old days,
Absolutely, yeah. Sony got me off my name, got my nickname from my friends and things. I'm called Cuba Dave on the Twitter and X and whatnot, and I won a trip to Cuba. And basically, my good buddy had such a bad time. He literally went to pick his missus up from an airport, and she got off the plane with another man, and so of course that of course didn't go down really well. So I'd won that trip, and it was for two. So I took him on holiday with us to kind of like, cheer him up and things like this. And yeah, so that's where the nickname Cuba Dave comes from. So
Fuck, that's so funny. Those is one of those classic stories where it's just shit sticks like shit to a blanket. Hey, bro, we're going to do our last break on our radio show now. But because we recorded the 6 o'clock hour. But yeah, once again, appreciate you. You're an absolute fucking weapon.
It'll be on the pod tomorrow.
Will it? Okay, great.
Yes.
okay, sorry, hope that's okay, Jim.
That's perfect.
It was awesome.
You're
Cheers, bro.
See you, brother,
Take care.
man.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.